Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna watch a video from Ryan Pineda where he shows you his first flip and all the mistakes that he made. Now, I think between his comments and my comments, we're gonna be able to give you some good tips so that you avoid so many mistakes in your first flip. Let's get started.
So today we are going to my very first flip ever. I wanna show you guys kind of how my first deal went because I know so many of you are struggling to get that first one. And you know, the first one is always the toughest. So we're gonna go drive by it, see what it looks like now. See if
your first deal is the toughest because it's the scariest, but on the upside is the one that you're gonna learn the most and the one you're gonna appreciate, and that one's gonna set you up for future deals.
My very first deal, the one that we're gonna go see, I bought it and I ended up buying a second deal right after it. And then that second deal ended up selling before the first deal. So I kind of like, you know, my first payday was really my second deal, and my second deal ended up making about $25,000, and that was such an easy flip. Like I literally put like $2,000 into it, threw it back on I bought it off the MLS, put $2,000 into it, literally like 3 days later, put it back on the MLS. First day, got an offer, full price, and it sold like, you know.
Now, if you listen to his second deal, don't think you're gonna go out and find a deal like that and get that lucky, because that does not happen that easy. And especially that he found a deal on the MLS. Now, the MLS is a program where all the realtors put all inventory and then it blows out to basically everybody. So once the deal reaches the MLS, everybody has access to the deal. Everybody could see the deal. So the fact that he was able to get a deal from the MLS that everybody's seeing it, and he only had to put $2,000, that's a lot of luck. Let's see what happened with him.
It was wild, man. And we made like 25 grand, and that was when I was like, holy. It's interesting, dude, the old areas are where it's at. Those are the houses that you got to fix up, you know? All these new houses that I'm looking at and that like I'm thinking I want to live in and that other people want to live in can't really add value to them because what am I going to fix up, you know?
And that's true what he says. I love neighborhoods that are older, but nice neighborhoods. Like Coral Gables is a perfect example of what I would like to do. And you go into those neighborhoods and you find the ugliest houses that has the most potential, and that's how you add the value, what he's saying. How do you add value to a house? You fix it up, you make it beautiful, you change the layout, you change the windows, you make it amazing, and that's how you're able to add value and get your big chunk return when you go and sell the house.
In these nice areas, the gold ain't in the country clubs, it's over here, you know? We are pulling up from my very first flip ever. This is an interesting twist to the deal. We have an elementary school right across the street from it, and
I will never buy a deal across the street from a school, and the reason for that is that usually those values go down because of the traffic that the school comes. Like the morning when the parents are dropping off the kids or school starting, and at the end the traffic, it's packed, so that reduces the value. And if you are gonna buy a deal in that neighborhood or across the street from the school, make sure that you're doing your numbers and you're not going for the top dollar, because it's gonna depreciate the price of the property.
And it actually has a lockbox on it, dude. Oh man, we might be able to go in it. All right, let's look it up. I really hope that it's vacant so we could go in it. That'd be super cool. All right, let's see what's going on with it.
So what he's doing right now, he's probably checking the MLS to see if there's a lockbox code, because a lot of times when realtors list the property, they'll put in the MLS and they'll put the code, because nobody has access to the MLS unless you're a realtor. So that's what he's probably checking now.
I don't see it for sale. It's for rent. We can go see it. House is actually first day on the market for rent. I looked up the history. You know, back when I bought it, I paid but it was like $135,000. I can't even remember now. And I bought it thinking, okay, I'm gonna sell this thing for about $200,000. It doesn't need like any work. It had a tenant in it, and you know, I didn't really know how to get a tenant out of there. I had no idea what I was doing, so I actually paid the tenant $1,000. I said, hey, if you're out in 30 days, I'll give you $1,000, and they were. But what I didn't know was they were on a month-to-month lease, so legally I could have served them a 30-day notice anyway, and they had to get out. So I wasted $1,000 there. Mistake number one by me.
I don't think that was a mistake, because the tenant, even if you service a 30-day notice and they don't leave, then you have to go through the eviction process, which will have cost them more than $1,000 and more time. So great job on that $1,000 investment.
Whatever, and I'm gonna show you the inside of the house here in a second when we get in it. But funny thing is, you know, you've got this elementary school over here, and every single day these stupid kids would be coming here, hanging out in this little courtyard that we're standing in now, because it's like just a perfect place to chill, you know? I don't blame them, they're kids, but the dumbest kid would climb up this wall and be on the roof. I remember checking on this property every day after school because I kept hearing from my guys like, dude, you got these kids, kids who are on the roof. I'm like, dude, this is a freaking 8-year-old kid climbing on the roof. He's about to fall and get me sued on my very first flip. I'm gonna like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that's another thing that people don't realize. If somebody gets hurt in your property, you're liable for that.
And so I remember I went over here, I yelled at the kids, and then I immediately like took the kid to the principal's office, and I'm like, yo, this kid is on my roof across the street. And she's like, okay, sorry, you know, we'll watch him and this and that. And so, you know, elementary school kids, typically it's gonna be squatters, you know, gangbangers, whatever the case may be in these areas. Make sure you just talk to the neighbors. You know, the neighbors don't wanna see a house getting, you know, messed up unless they're the ones doing it.
About talking to the neighbors, when you're gonna be doing a flip, it's very important that you do talk to your neighbors and tell them, hey, I am so-and-so, nice to meet you. My intentions for this house is to make it beautiful and amazing to bring property value up in your neighborhood. They will appreciate that. And by you doing that, they might wanna help you versus kind of like, you know, if you're making noise, kind of like call the county and say, hey, they're making noise. Definitely want to introduce at least to that left house, that right neighbor, and that one in front of you. And just say, hey, my intentions are good. Let's work together, get the property beautiful, and I'm gonna bring the value up. It's a win-win situation.
But as long as you got a neighbor who you can trust, you're gonna go to them and say, hey, look, can you watch the house for me? Can you know, keep an eye on it? If anything happens, call me, call the cops if you see something. And that way they're gonna be your best security system. And I learned that through this very first deal, just talking to the school. They're my neighbor. And so, and I've done it many times on other properties where they kept getting broken into or issues and whatever. And so I tell the neighbor, hey, I'm gonna give you $100, $200, you know, just watch it. Once it sells, I'll pay you, you know, and then you're gonna get a new neighbor. You're getting a remodeled home next to you. Your house is gonna be worth more because I'm raising the value in the neighborhood. There's a lot of good things you could tell your neighbor for them to be on your side. So, you know, I learned a ton just from
This guy knows a few things. Good stuff.
little kids, you know? So let's go in, let's check it out and see what's going down with it now. I ended up, at the time, I was still flipping used appliances and, you know, used furniture and stuff. And so these are still the same appliances that I bought and put in here. I think I paid like $300 for all these appliances back in the day because I was wheeling and dealing.
When you're gonna do your first flip, you also have to understand what market are you going after. Obviously, he bought this house for $135,000. I think that's what he said, or $235,000. That's a medium to low market. So in that property, used appliances might work to get top dollar. But when you get into a more upscale property, like maybe in $1 million, $2 million, you have to make the extra investment and just buy the new stuff. Don't skip on those things because it's gonna bite you at the end of the project where people are gonna, why is this used? And people expect new things, not used things.
This is new. I did not put this in here. I put a used fridge, so they probably gave out, but whatever. If you could tell, we never got rid of the popcorn ceiling. You know, you see a lot of people who are like, oh, you gotta get rid of popcorn ceiling, and it's just not true. Like, if the comps don't say you need to, you don't need to. So,
exactly, that goes back to knowing your neighborhood, knowing the house that you're selling. In a neighborhood like this, you can leave the popcorn, you could leave the whole curtains, paint it over, but in a different neighborhood, in a different price market, you definitely have to remove the popcorn, you definitely have to do your thing. So you just have to know your market, you have to know your property that you're buying, you have to know what people are expecting in the price range.
this was the weird part of the house that really caused us some drama. So originally, you know, the guy I bought it from, he was a flipper and a wholesaler, and, you know, he's helped me out a lot in my career. And he had told me, hey, just leave the floor plan the way it is. And so we did. We just cleaned it up, fixed up the kitchen, didn't touch the floor plan.
By not touching the floor plan, it saves a lot of money and time. Because what happens is when you change the floor plan, what does that mean? You're basically opening up walls, you're removing things, you have to do underground work. It creates a bigger scope of work, plus the surprises that come up after. So I don't blame them for not changing the floor plan in this particular project, in this house. But if you're going for a bigger market, I kind of have to change the floor plan to create a new layouts of what people are expecting in today's market.
It turned out people didn't like the layout because in here, there was an exterior window right here. Yeah, there was an exterior window right here. This was all one bedroom. This whole thing was one bedroom. And it was super weird. Like, this was an addition at some point. You can actually tell because you look at this beam and everything, like, this was the end of the house. And so they built this extension at some point. The house ended here. You got an exterior window into another bedroom. So two bedrooms can, like, open a window and look at each other. And I thought it was weird, but it was my first flip. So I'm like, whatever, like, if you think it'll sell, I believe you. And so it didn't. And so we ended up We had it on the market for a really long time, and I'm like, dude, it's not selling because...
What he just said is very important. He thought it will sell, he'll leave it like that. If the layout is really bad, you kind of forced to do what he had to do after. Don't wait till you put the property in the market. No, you have to use common sense. If you walk into a house and you have exterior window in the hallway and things don't make sense, most likely, even this price range, people are gonna be turned off and your pool of buyers is gonna reduce, which means your sell number is gonna reduce. Make sure when you're looking at this house is the first thing you wanna do, because changing a light fixture is easy. Painting the walls is easy. Reconfiguring the layout, it costs more time and more money, so make sure that you include that in your budget before you make the purchase, and make sure you do your numbers right from the beginning.
We took it off the market and we had to end up redoing it. Another big learning lesson from all of this was the stupid garage. So when I bought the house, originally they told me, hey, this house is like 2,000 square feet. And I said, great, 2,000 square feet, cool. Well, I didn't look at the floor plan on the assessor's website. I didn't see like what it really looked like. And for the 2,000 square feet, they were counting this garage as being converted. And so this garage obviously isn't converted. And so we lost, like 200 square feet.
What he meant by 200 square feet, he lost. Not that he lost, is that when they do the proper appraisal value, because most people in this price range, they're gonna get a loan, you wanna make sure that the house is gonna be able to appraise to the number that you wanna get. And when they do it, they use what's called living square feet. So a garage is not considered as living. So when they told him 2,000 square feet, that included the garage. So it was basically maybe 18 or 1,700 square feet of living area, which will affect the value of the property when they go and appraise the property.
The only reason I know that is because the appraiser went to appraise it and he goes, dude, your house is only like 1,700 something square feet. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, that garage isn't converted. We lost like 10 grand in value because I didn't realize that wasn't square footage. Obviously, the flooring, I think it's ugly. In today's flips, I would definitely have replaced it. But you learn. Same type of deal. They didn't touch this. We kept this the way it is. You can see they've painted it. We probably painted it too. I don't even remember. We kept the vanity the way it was, as we painted it so it's a nice stain, and we put a top on it. And now that I look at it, I'm like, dude, I don't know what I was thinking. That's a terrible design, but whatever. So
he was thinking what most people think of the first deal: budget. I need to spend less. I need to spend less to make more money. And that's a mistake. Just because you spend less doesn't mean you're gonna make more money. When you do things right, you get more for your buck.
Oh yeah, now that I'm here, I remember this other funky part. This is the funkiest house ever. So originally, this hallway right here that you see, this did not exist, okay? What it was, what the heck was it? I wanna say that this door was always here, but it stopped right here, okay? And what it was, this room pretty much went the whole way, okay? So it went the whole way into that hallway. So in order to get to this back area that you see here, there was only one way. It was through a bedroom. So this house was all sorts of jacked up, okay? And so once again, this was another thing that they, probably enclosed a covered patio and added all this extra square footage. My guess, this house was probably like 1,200 square feet. And then they made it like 1,800 by enclosing everything. This is how it was when I bought it.
When you guys are looking for a house to buy for an investment, the first thing you want to look at, aside the colors and the ugly stuff, is the floor plan. It is very important, very crucial that the layouts, the floor plan works. If the floor plan works, your cost for renovation is going to be much lower, and you could go ahead and estimate paints, changing fixtures, changing plumbings, appliances, and so forth. If you have to change the floor plan, you may want to add maybe a 20, 30, 40% on top of what you think it's going to cost, because of all those surprises that I mentioned to you guys before. So keep that in mind, very important. But the layout needs to be flowy.
And so I tried to sell it like that, and unsuccessfully. So after like 2 months on the market, I took it off and I said, we got to fix this floor plan. I don't even know how we're going to fix it because it's so messed up. It's so weird, but this was the best I came up with. I said, you know what? Let's cut this room out so we have a hallway that can take us directly here. And so we did that. And
now, one thing I give him on his first flip is that they took the initiative, they took the property off the market, they went ahead, they invest more money in the property, which they should have done that from the beginning. Great job on doing that and learning from it, most important. So great job.
It was a big learning experience. At first, I just thought, hey, I'm gonna put some granite, I'm gonna paint this place and be done. So I originally budgeted like 5 grand. Obviously that wasn't the case. We ended up having to redo the layout and do all this, and we ended up spending like 15 grand. And we ended up selling it for 190,000. So it still ended up working out at the end of the day. You know how much I learned on this flip? compared to, just reading in books, it's immeasurable. I got paid $15,000 and I made every mistake in the book.
From learning from this, my advice to you guys, if you're gonna do a flip, you just have to go for it. The fears was stopping you back. When you go into your first flip or your first deal, make sure that you give yourself, like he says, a wider spread. What does that mean? You wanna be able to give yourself enough room for mistakes, and eventually making $15,000 is great. But even if you break zero, think about this. Even if you break zero and you make no money, just the experience alone, it's what's gonna pay itself for your future deals. Don't be afraid of making your first deal. If you think it's gonna cost you $40,000 or $30,000 or $15,000, increase that price for another 20, 30, 40% on unforeseens, so that you're giving yourself that extra leverage. But most important, take the first step. Don't be afraid, or contact a professional that's doing it and maybe partner up with them. That'll be another way to scale on your first deal and reducing your risk. Remember, investment is all about reducing your risk, getting around the right people, moving forward for growth. Can't stop, won't stop. Let's go.